First of all, so Waller, Texas, that's where you're from, correct?
I am from Waller, Texas. If you guys don't know who Waller, Texas is, and I'm sure some of you might not, it's about, well, I went to school in Waller. Let me preface that. I lived in Prairie View, Texas. It's a suburb about 25 minutes outside of Houston. So I grew up in between Houston and Prairie View, but my grandmother raised me, and I spent the majority of my time there. So obviously it's a college university there, smaller, if you will. But yes, that's where I'm from.
I asked that because also Daryl Hawkins, who was, he was a Arkansas basketball great, helped them to the 1990 Final Four. Y'all grew up together, right?
We did grow up with, we call him D. He was the first guy from our school that I know of that went to a big time institution. So, and I guess everything is symbolic in a way. Seeing him play at Arkansas and going to Arkansas, and Arkansas was always forever sketching in my mind, but not necessarily for track. We knew Arkansas for basketball. Our high school coach, our basketball coach is from Hope, Arkansas. So we heard about Arkansas tirelessly. So never to think that I would be at Arkansas, let alone coaching at Arkansas. That was kind of somewhat of a symbolic thing just to be able to come to school here and get a job here. But yes, I know Daryl really, really well. I played with his brother. His brother was a year older than me, and we played basketball together and ran track. He wasn't that good at track, but nevertheless, he ran.
How do you think that, those upbringings kind of have molded you, now being able to look back at really your roots?
Well, I always like to say we didn't come from nothing, but we came from humble beginnings. And I think in growing up, at the time, you're just growing up, right? Your environment is your environment. Some things you can control and some things you can't. And your environment you can't control, but you can control how you move around in your environment and what your goals and what are you trying to get accomplished. So we learn how to work hard at a very early age, and I think that's stuck with me. Not perfect by any stretch of imagination, but at the same time, I knew what I wanted. And obviously life gives you some turns and twists. And obviously track found me in terms of college coaching. I wasn't necessarily looking for it, but that's kind of like how life happens. God puts some things in your life and shape you and put you in a situation where you're where you're supposed to be. So sometimes when I look back, you kind of, I've been here before, so I've seen it before, but didn't quite know that it was going to happen that way.
I want to hone in and talk a lot about this past year for you. Anybody who's been here, we've had Lance here before, so everybody's very familiar with Lance and, how successful a coach he was. What has that really been like, I guess, being right after him, and kind of what's that adjustment been like, coming from a program that was already in a great place and just kind of, pun intended, passing the baton off to you?
Well, for the record, I love Lance to death. Lance didn't win until I got back. So, for the record, Lance has been in 34 years, fantastic, but he hasn't a championship without a Johnson on the staff. So, but in saying, Lance is terrific, and I think his demeanor is just perfect to be a track coach. He doesn't really get too high, he doesn't get too low, but he's very driven and motivated to be able to kind of get the best out of you without kind of not standing over top of it. So for me, I think me and Lance work because he just kind of gives you the autonomy to do what you want to do. And obviously, if he thinks you're going a little too far, it kind of reels you back in. But I just think that expectation is expectation. If you're a high achiever, you want to be able to, if you're a high achiever, you got to be able to deal with pressure. And it's not really the pressure, it's just kind of how you deal with it. How do you see it? And then that's kind of how we find out what your character is. Is how you deal with it. Are you going to blow up? Are you going to shut down? Or are you going to persevere? Everything is not going to go perfect. That's life. But I just think that Lance, in a lot of things that he's taught me, is just learn how to kind of persevere, get through it. Tomorrow the sun's still going to shine. Maybe we didn't get that workout that we wanted. Maybe we didn't get that athlete that we wanted, but we'll be okay. So amongst a lot of lessons, I think that was one that really that stuck with me. But there's nothing bad to say about Lance. But I will remind him that it took a Johnson to be there. So in the grand scheme of things, it's different for me taking over the program and being here versus coming from another institution and kind of walking in his footsteps or trying to follow up on the things that he's done. Being a part of it and helping grow the program to the level it was going. Now, I'm not saying obviously it was fantastic before I got here, but being a part of it and getting to the next level, if you will, I think it's really helped and kind of seeing what it really takes to not just build a program, but to also sustain a program. And I think those are the pearls that will help you continue to move the dial forward.
Being able to win a national championship in your first season as head coach, just what all went into that meet, I guess, from maybe a preparation standpoint, trying to, maximize how y'all could get those points?
Well, obviously, you take a national championship how you get it, but I don't know if it's a gift or a curse. Now you guys expecting one every time. But I mean, obviously, to win a national championship in any sport is special. And it also means that everything has to go right throughout the season. You got to be injury free, and you got to nail it on those 2 days. And we're fortunate enough to be able to do that, and that's not an easy feat. So I just think that we're fortunate, we're blessed to be able to put together that team and be able to do it the first time. No, I don't care what the coach tell you, they're lying. There's no necessary formula. That's a little luck that goes into it too. The harder you work, the luckier you get. But nevertheless, there's still some luck that goes into it because you're trying to put everything together and make sure it happens. And there's no illnesses, there's no distractions and so forth and so on. And to put it together for 2 days or over a football game, over a season with injuries or basketball, whatever the case may be, it's difficult. But I think the experience of being there before, having an understanding of what it really takes, and not to push too hard, but just to motivate just enough, I think it's impactful.
I guess Arkansas started getting lucky once the Johnson came, though.
Well, you got lucky when you got the Johnson,
Yeah.
But no, not really. I mean, I just think it's Arkansas.
Yeah.
It's Arkansas track and field. And the state of Arkansas, the community of Northwest Arkansas, has far preceded me in making this place attractive and making it somewhere athletes want to come. I mean, if you go look at the largest list of Olympians and world champions, participants, and as well as medalists that's been at this place, obviously, let's start with Johnson on staff. It's been here, and I just love being a part of it and could help to continue to grow it. But it's just something that I guess it's really it's the track and field program that John McDonald built, and now we're just living off of what he was able to do and established and live that legacy of track and field at the University of Arkansas, which makes it easy.
You've told me before that you and your brother, track is genuinely a passion of y'all's. You'll find yourselves just talking about it, even whenever you don't really necessarily have to. I guess what's that been like with him to just share such a thing that you both love? Well,
first of all, just to get along with your brother and see him every day, things must be good. But no, I mean, he's very passionate about track. I'm very passionate about track. Track has gotten me everything that I've gotten in life. I met my wife through track. I got my job through track. So I love track. I can truly say that it's a passion of mine. So it's not a day that goes by or an hour that goes by that's something about track is not going through my brain. I mean, when I go to sleep at night, my wife tells me, go go to the living room and watch TV. I'm trying to go to sleep and I'm watching a track video or something before I go to bed. Or outside of talking to my wife, I probably talk to my brother. Even we live in the same state, the same city now. We probably talk at least on the phone if we're not together 10 times a day. And it's relegated to an athlete, it's relegated to a practice session, it's relegated to training, because truly that's what's gotten us to where we want to be. It provided an education for me to go to college. Otherwise, as my grandmother said, you'd be going to the army or something, but you can't stay here. So that's what it really was for me. And obviously, after many years, I like, golly, man, I went to college in '95, and it's almost 30 years. But it's been there, and that passion's been there for a very long time, and I don't see the light burning out anytime soon.
You've long been considered a great recruiter. Just whenever you're talking to an athlete who might be on the fence between Arkansas and School Z, what is it that you really like to bring out about Arkansas to maybe what sets this program apart from other programs in your eyes?
Well, I think in terms of being a great recruiter, I think no coach wants to be known as a great recruiter and not a great coach. I think you need to both of them. In terms of recruiting, I think the things that sells an athlete as well as a parent is to tell them the truth. Okay, if you come to Arkansas, you're going to work really, really hard. We're going to hold you accountable. We're going to make sure that you graduate, and we're going to make you successful if you can adhere to this strenuous program that we're going to provide you. This is what you're telling us you want, then this is what you're going to have to do to get it. It's the same thing that if your daughter or your son is going to college and they want to be a doctor, or they want to be a lawyer, or they want to be a teacher, whatever the case may be, they have to do certain things to get to do that. Everybody doesn't get to be a doctor but just because they want to be. Okay, you got to be smart. You got to go to class. You got to meet the necessary prerequisites to go to med school or law school, whatever the case may be. So if you come to Arkansas, you got to meet the prerequisites in terms of being a national champion, in terms of scoring at the conference meet. I don't care what the coach tells you down the street. There's only one way to success, and that's hard work. And understanding that and putting yourself at a university that's going to require that, that's going to hold you accountable to that, going to push you towards that, and they're going to tell you the truth. Because in essence, guys, we've got some transfers. You look at Brittany Wilson, she set the collegiate record in the 400 meters indoors and outdoors last year. This young lady went to the University of Tennessee, and it didn't work out for her. She was there for 2 years. And in 2 years here, she went from 58 seconds in the hurdles to 53 flat. And she went from 52.8 as the best time to 49.1. It's not because she was without talent. She was without coachability, accountability, and just to be able to be honest and tell them the truth. I'm not going to lie to them. I'm not going to tell their parents that we're not going to do certain things because it doesn't feel good, it hurts. If you want to be here's the standard of being in Arkansas. And sometimes they get a second chance, just like an Amber Annie. She went to LSU. It didn't work well, but when she got here, she became a national champion. So it's really not selling them. I'm not selling cars. I'm not selling houses. Nothing wrong with that. Lindsay, by the way. But I guess in a sense of selling cars and selling houses, you're selling your product to be the very best. Okay, and so we just feel like our product is the very best, and we just tell them the truth. And I think our product holds value for any other institution that's in the country, and the results speak for themselves. So if you're happy with a Lindsay house, you'll buy another one. If not so much. So I just think the reason Lindsay's here because they're winners, and the reason that we're here because we're winners. That's why people want to come.
That's all I got. Thanks so much again.
Thank you, guys.